The story of this season can be summed up in one word, and that word is Marcomania. Marco Sanfilippo has been standing head and shoulders above the pack so far through 10 rounds worth of racing. But with all drop rounds used up, it is now time to put a high-speed thrill ride into play. We are going back old school here today. It is the legacy Silverstone circuit. It's the historical Grand Prix layout, and it's here with us with the Sunday Grand Prix series here, brought to you by the Global SimRacing Channel. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to Lotus 79 coverage here on the 24th of November. My name is Jake Sperry, and alongside me in the booth for this one is Alex Goldschmidt. Daniel Costello jumps into the director's chair. He's using the cameras provided by Dougie Beard. But what can be said as we take a small portal back in time before we had a village loop to deal with and a Wellington straight to attack on these laps? We're going to be in for a real treat. Let's get an understanding with our GSRC track guide.
Welcome to Silverstone. Most famously known for being the first circuit to host a round of Formula One, this place has since become synonymous with British motorsports. Hosting everything from sports cars to touring cars to open wheels and even motorcycles, it's a track that fits a wide variety of vehicles. With 5 different layouts to choose from, you've got a little something for any level of racing. The longest of those layouts boasts 17 turns over more than 3 miles or 5 kilometers, so it can take a bit to get around it, even in higher-powered machinery. Its main characteristics are the long straights, swift corners, and general lack of elevation change. Its most famous set of turns is definitely the Maggots-Beckett sequence, in which anything with high downforce finds itself challenged with the rapid changes of direction. While there is a fair bit of paved runoff and quick corners like Copse and Stowe, the time lost from going off can be costly. There's a few turns with opportunities for overtaking, including Vale, Abbey, and Priory, but in cars with less horsepower, expect the slipstream to be where many attempt to get by. The Hangar Straight is perhaps the most notorious for draft battles to erupt. All in all, this versatile racetrack located just northwest of London provides both history in its roots and action on the tarmac. The huge number of British fans that typically attend events are seldom left wanting.
This is a circuit that is built around pace here today, and we're going to see that old school thrill and that final sector, which becomes so very important. We start over, heading towards Copse Corner, putting it back as turn 1, where some would say it rightfully belongs, Alex, but that run through the Abbey Corner, which is not going to be a chicane today, through Bridge, Priory, Brooklands, and Luffield, is the end of a lap that drivers just dream of.
Yes, Jake, and good afternoon, good evening, and good morning to everybody. Yeah, Silverstone's an absolute treat. The home of British motorsport. There is nothing quite like it, especially with the infamous right-hander flat out at about 160 miles an hour through Copse Corner, and then you've got the wonderful complex of Maggots, Beckett and Chapel heading down the iconic Hangar Straight. It is a track that everyone, that if you are a motorsport fan, you know of this place. If you haven't visited it, you miss out on a treat, but tonight we've definitely got it with 16 turns, just a shade over 3.14 miles here, Jake. It's going to be an absolute barnstormer.
It's amazing what you can find in one very small toaster, and that is what you can find, a full Silverstone circuit for your delight. But this is a delight that we'll see this season has been won for the Sicilian man, Marco Sanfilippo, and what he's been able to do over the course of these races. He has been flying forward in terms of his championship over the likes of Topi Courtiniemi, and I'm sure we'll get a chance to see how the standings look in just a couple of moments' time. But we have certainly been keeping an eye out on who maybe has been able to find that opportunity out there on over the course of the season. But really, Alex, when we sit down and when we look at it, this has been a very, very hard-fought championship, but one where each and every lap has been important over the context of a season.
Yeah, definitely agree with you there, Jake. As you said, it's been Marco Mania. I mean, he's been absolutely dominant. Courtiniemi's really got to put the frighteners on the Sicilian here today in this fantastic circuit. But of course, it's going to be very, very tricky. You're talking speeds of north of 170, 175 miles an hour. Slipstreaming. very, very crucial. And of course, going through the old school variation of Abbey, which is basically going to be flat to the floor. Forget the fact it's a left-hand kink. You are going full to the floor on that one. And then you've got, obviously, Farm Straight, Bridge, Priory. Then you've got the short complex through Brooklands, Luffield and Woodcut. An iconic complex of corners, if ever there were any.
Yes, and when you get that long run through the final sector of the lap, it is to its own. Simply fantastic out there, and we will hopefully get a little look at what we have got championship-wise here for you. It is also a reminder for you all, ladies and gentlemen, that we are currently in the midst of iRacing's Black Friday deals at this moment in time. Please, if you're a brand new person, you're here with us for the very first time, you can get 50% off of all new memberships. And of course, if you are already a member, you can get 25% off of any early renewal of reactivation of 1 and 2 year deals. Head over to iRacing.com/Black Friday for the biggest iRacing sale of the year. But this has been something that has been really, really cool to see. It's only going to be a short flick through here today, Alex. Just the 25 laps to deal with today.
Yeah, 25 laps, all of them very, very crucial, especially from the standing start that we have here on the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series live on GSRC. Open setup, no spare car. So you bin it in the wall, that's it. Day's over. Drive-through penalty at 17x and then DQ at 25x, but we've got the creme de la creme for today's activity here, Jake. And with qualifying currently underway as we speak, it's going to be a very, very close fought affair.
It will be very close fought, and we will get a chance to see that here as these drivers put these times in. This is a circuit that has been run inaugural Lotus 79 season. Or that they had the new scan of the circuit from the 2012 variation, just the 2 minutes and 25 seconds. And we've just had a change at the top because Marco Sanfilippo has just jumped about 700ths clear of Topi Courtiniemi, who has done all of his time. So car 5 has got himself the fastest, but if there is any driver to challenge him out there today, keep an eye out on car number 1 out there on circuit. He is the reigning iRacing Grand Prix Tour champion. He's a 2-time champion in that series, and his name is Jacob Reed from Worcestershire in England. If anyone can challenge him today, it's him.
Yeah, very much the case. I mean, Sanfilippo, no surprise being at the top of the timesheets. It is going to be a very, very close affair. I mean, we've seen Jacob Reed in action, of course. I had the opportunity of commentating on round 9 when we headed to the mountain at Cadwell Park, and he finished in the top 3, and that one was on course to potentially win.
Cherno's just gone quickest on a 25. He has just blitzed the timing screens alight. And I tell you what, in 2016, 17, 18, he was nigh on unstoppable. Cherno's rolling back the years.
Wow, isn't that one for writing a new page of history on this championship here, Jake? I mean, to be honest with you, to hear the roar of these Lotus 79 cars around this 3.1 mile circuit is just an absolute joy. I love it when we get the opportunity to have these one-make series with these iconic wagons that just absolutely breathe noise through the exhaust pipes.
They certainly do. Reed across the line goes 6th fastest then on a 26.9. He did have a wiggle through Maggots and Beckett to start his lap off, so that certainly hasn't worked out. Dylan Freckleton trying to come to the line with his second attempt of a lap, and he crosses the stripe for a 26.8. He'll knock him down off the 3rd row because Dylan Freckleton's just gone 5th fastest in the TVR, so he's done really, really well there as he has stacked it up. But we're going to take a little bit of a look here at your standings. Marco Sanfilippo walking in today here with a 82-point lead. It's not confirmed here at the moment, but he's almost got a full race-winning margin at this moment in time in terms of points here, Alex.
Yeah, Torpi Cortiniemi's got to have his A game here today. That's very much guaranteed here, Jake, because San Filippo, the Sicilian, has been running away with things in recent times. Freckleton, Fritscher, they've all got an opportunity of climbing closer and closer towards the top two. And then you look at the F2 standings with Tamás Barfai leading the way ahead of John Stevens, with Daniel Gallis rounding out the top three. That's also a very, very close fought affair here on the Sunday Grand Prix Series.
It very much is. We know that they are going to be a little bit further away with the fact that we've split this field today. Jarno Fritscher on the pole with Marco Sanfilippo alongside. Topi Cortiniemi, his nearest challenger, starts third with another Finn, Antti Lepisto, in fourth position. Dylan Freckleton and Luca Bracali are on row three with Jacob Reed and the reigning champion, Jack David Spickett, there on eighth position. Hervé Trengarade starts ninth with Jack Kent rounding out the top 10. Flipping over then to row number 6, where you've got Danilo Sanfilippo and Josh Brain with Andrew Petty in 13th position. Nathan Finnegan will be alongside in 14th, alongside Jean-Francois Boscus and Patrick Samaran in 16th position. Daniel Gallis there in the F2 standings is there in 17th, with Barry West in 18th, ahead of Mickey Friesen and Hannah Fechner, which make up the 20. Just the 4 drivers after that to keep in mind, which is Steve Morris, Hamilton Barrera Ruiz, who was the last driver to set a time, meaning that Jason Clapper, by a virtue of the fact of having more iRacing than Yanni Lehmann, will go in 23rd ahead of 24th. With Daniel Gallis in this field and the split where it is, he will certainly gain a big advantage on Tamás Barfai, for example, in the championship, who's down in F2. But at the front, Jarno Fritscher with a wonderful qualifying time. Marco Sanfilippo next to him. Topi Cortiniemi there just along, and also Antti Lepisto, who is sat there in fourth. It is a who's who field through the top 8. Lights on here at Silverstone. Lights out here at Silverstone, and the start is not brilliant from Marco Sanfilippo. Topi Cortiniemi launches his way around him as we head towards Cops Corner, flying in through. Fritscher's got the start that he wants. Side by side a little bit further back as Luca Bracali washes out a little bit, and Jacob Reed now moves himself away through, heading to Maggot's Corner, the small left-hander, the flick right that they now go through and in towards Beckett's. It's a clean start throughout the field as they now look to form single file and use the slipstream available on the Hangar Straight.
Yeah, it's going to be crucial to get through this opening lap. We've seen them too wide at points, but the way that Cortiniemi got the way that Fritscher got away, Cortiniemi doing a great job as Gallis rounding out the top 18 as they head into Stowe Corner for the opening tour out of 25. It is going to be a rapid-fire race, as you very rightly said here, Jake, but everyone's seeming to cross the T's and dot the I's for the moment.
They certainly have done. Nathan Finnegan from Club West finds himself in 13th position. He's gained 1 off the start. That 1 is Josh Brain in the number 22 machine. He's found a way through. This is where the long launch is needed. Into bridge, side by side, as Jacob Reed looks to try and challenge Dylan Freckleton for a spot inside the top 5. Not quite finding it there at the moment, but now looking to try and dance through what is the very technical final sector of the lap. And the way they're setting up, oh, how cheeky do you want to be, Antti Lepisto? He was searching for the pocket of Marco Sanfilippo, and he couldn't quite pick up what he wanted.
Yeah, Sanfilippo's going to respond to that very, very quickly as we ride on board with the number 3 from Finland, Antti Lepisto, as they go through Copse Corner. Then it's the short run down, and they're going to stretch the legs on these Lotus 79 cars into Maggots, now into Beckett's once again. This is very high commitment, very high speed. Big changes of G-force for the drivers to contend with through their direct drives on their wheelbases, but more to the point that Lepisto was looking very, very cheeky, trying to put the frighteners on Sanfilippo, and now it's a case of just getting out of the slipstream, as in people trying to weave from side to side, but only make one move. That's very crucial.
It is, and that's often what you find is nice as Sanfilippo continues his challenge. We will need to have a look on lap 1 to what happened to Daniel Gallis, Mickey Friesen and Steve Morris on the opening lap heading through Abbey Corner. There's been a massive accident there on the opening lap, and all 3 of them are out of the race because there's no fast repair. Here comes again the search from one Mr. Jacob Reed down to the inside. The commitment to hold around the outside from Dylan Freckleton for a second straight lap around here is simply put magnificent, and he holds his station once again. So there's not much more that the Worcesterman can do except sit and wait for the chance to find that move as he sits through. But 3 drivers out on the opening lap of the race: Morris, Peterson and Gallus.
Yeah, Reed is trying to put the frightness on Freckleton here. Prix leading the way by now nearly 1.2 seconds ahead of Topi Cottiniemi. Sanfilippo rounds out the top 3. Freckleton touching the grass and kicking up the dust going through Copse Corner as Reed just heaping the pressure on consistently here. It's only going to be a case of Reed putting the pressure on Freckleton, and then maybe the number 1 can push forward and close in on the likes of Lepisto, Sanfilippo, Cottiniemi and race leader Godolph Prix.
Here we go. And this is going to be where he's going to try and do it. Down the hill in towards Stowe Corners. Not much elevation change here at Silverstone, but again, a car that works so well on the outside. Dylan Freckleton has an absolute launch of a car through the middle of the corners here, and these high-speed corners that he's having to try and fight a way through on, it's very difficult for drivers to try and find a way around him. And I think Jacob Reed is finding this out firsthand as he again gets in the slipstream, tucks underneath, but this time not close enough to make a launch here at Bridge. And this is going to frustrate him, because the more that he tries to put him out of line here, Alex, surely the more that Jacob Reed and Dylan Freckleton are going to lose contact with the pack in front.
Yeah, that's starting to open up a little bit here, Jake, as well, because Lepisto's about 0.8 of a second ahead of Freckleton. But yeah, you can just see that Reed will get a little bit frustrated. He's going to try and use every trick in the playbook to get through on the number 6, but Prix again with clear air expands his lead to now really what is a whopping advantage of 1.6 seconds, and is now pulling away from Cottiniemi, Sanfilippo and Lepisto, who are literally battling over the scraps on the dinner table.
Yeah, this is a case of, well, where can I try and put my feet in? Here's Jack Kent. He's in 11th. He's now got to deal with Marco Sanfilippo's brother running the traditional Palermo colours out there at the moment of the of the light pink there and the black. And he's now got to try and find a way to get through. Kent closing on up, but not close enough to make a move here. This is going to be very difficult for a lot of drivers in this race, because you're looking for that return, and it's very tough when the car in front of you's got slipstream on the car in front that's got slipstream on the car in front that's got slipstream. If you had DRS, you can make passes, but it's very much that DRS style train that we've got going on in just the form of ground effect and slipstream.
Yeah, it's wonderful where the drivers actually have to use a little bit of wit and a bit of circumstance to try and put their way past the opposition in order to move up through the championship. Of course, we're coming towards the tail end of this season for the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series, but Sanfilippo has got a lot of pressure coming from behind, courtesy of Ante Lepisto. So this battle for second, third and fourth really heating up. Reed's got to do something very quickly as they go through Copse Corner once again. And more to the point, you could just see how far they are pushing the limits of adhesion going through the exit of Copse Corner. Sanfilippo nearly went off going through into maggots there, Jake.
Yeah, you can sense that he is starting to really attack here as Marco Sanfilippo, and he's needing to use all of the road and then some as he goes through the corners. So he's using all of the road tacks available, so to speak, in order to try and keep in touch with Topi Cottiniemi. Meanwhile, do not count out the Austrian Gernot Fritzsche. He has walked away to the tune of 1.8 seconds here at the front of this field, and he has done so by being consistently 0.3 of a second quicker each and every single lap. And by the side of his car, it looks like the boss is back in town.
Yeah, I think basically by having a clear air advantage, being the leading car on the circuit here at Silverstone, it doesn't put you under the kibosh like if you, as you rightly said, Jake, with regards to having to deal with ground effect and slipstream, especially with Cottiniemi punching the hole in the dirty air for the likes of Sanfilippo, for the likes of Lepisto, who are third and fourth respectively. It is really going to be very taxing. Still, Jacob Reed trying to get past Dylan Freckleton. He's running out of tricks to play through as they come through out of Woodcote and go down the main straightaway, but he's going for the inside line into Copse Corner. This could be the move for him to go up, and he's going to make it before they make it through to the apex.
Yeah, that's wonderful from Jacob Reed. The next question is going to be how much straight line does he have in comparison to Dylan Freckleton? Because, oh, car off in the back. That's a huge one in the back for Jack Kent. Rear right tyre is demolished as he hits the barriers at Copse Corner, and he lost it all on his own.
That's the biggest thing. You've got to be very, very competent and very confident going into Copse Corner. You're at full velocity. You're going to have to lift off, but don't lift off too heavy and don't go too heavy back onto the throttle through that corner. As we've just seen, that you can end up with 3 wheels on the wagon, unfortunately.
You can. Jason Clapper through there on the inside of Hannah Fechner. Not much that she can do here in this race. That puts one Mr. Jason Clapper, who loves the last to first challenge in races like these, now up 5 spots in the race from 23rd over to 18th position. Fechner not giving this one up, now trying to make the chase along here through Abbey on what is now the Sir Lewis Hamilton straight. As we take a look on the GSRC replay, this is what happened to Jack Kent then as he went in to Copse Corner. The car just going around, and I tell you what, it doesn't quite help his case when he's got the crash test dummy helmet.
Yeah, I mean, you could see that the back end just snapped away as he turned the car in, got a bit of a tank slapper, rotated the car backwards, and it was all she wrote.
That's all that was there. Meanwhile, we note that Dylan Freckleton was unable to get there as Jacob Reed slows with a slowdown penalty and goes back through. So Freckleton's back through there in the background as Marco Sanfilippo, now the closest he's been for a little while here in terms of trying to pick up the run on Topi Courtaniemi. He's hoping here on lap 7 that he's got the chance to make this move on his main championship rival, because if he can make this move and gain this place, he would be a full race clear with 2 rounds to go and 2 drop rounds available. He has to participate in all the rounds left because he's used all his drops for this season. So too has Courtaniemi, so it's straight up 1v1. If there's a 0 anywhere on the board for Marco Sanfilippo, it's a world of hurt for him. All his advantage would be wiped out.
Yeah, at this point in the season here, Jake, we both know we're in the business end of it, and any mistake that's made now is going to prove costly.
It will be, and we will see that as now through the very difficult Priory corner, now into the much tighter Brooklands that we know and love today, and then the same old Luffield corner where you're trying to wait to put the power down as early as you possibly can. He's red toppy on the back of that rear wing for the opening 7 laps of this race. He'll be tired of doing so over and over and over again. There is not much that he can do to really say much more about it. So he's going to sit, he's going to wait, and he is going to have to try and find a way through, because it's not like he's got a pit stop where he can find that advantage here. This is a sprint race if ever there was one. You've got to make it happen on track.
Yeah, and also the biggest thing is to have a little bit of damage limitation being exercised as well, because Courtaniemi and Sanfilippo are the 2 main protagonists at the sharp end of the championship fight. Any mistake from either of them is going to be costly, and one of them is going to be literally kicking themselves up the backside as if to say, why did I make that mistake? As we now see Hannah Fechner still putting the Frighteners on in the battle for 16th place. She's not giving it up. She's looking for the move up the inside. That's a great move there from Hannah Fechner if she manages to pull it off. And she's nosed ahead by about half a car length and has got the job done. Great move there.
Yeah, Jason Clapper just got caught out in the dirty air there on the outside of the circuit. It meant that he couldn't put the power down as much as he wanted to because the downforce simply wasn't there. There's not much in terms of aero in this machinery here, in terms of the context that we have it today with the front wing end plates, for example, that they've got. But there's enough out there to still create that turbulence that makes life so difficult if you're anything short of what you need to be.
I mean, even with the fact it's an open setup, as you said, Jake, it's very much you've got to find that fine balance between straight line speed and handling capabilities on these Lotus 79s. And round here at Silverstone, that is one of the biggest tests that you get put up against, especially in this kind of race machinery.
We'll take a look here on the GSRC replay. This is the start, and this is what happened to Daniel Gallis. 3 cars effectively out of the race from this. Oh, and it was Fechner who caught the issue there. Bang into the side. Look at that. Absolutely clattering. Up and over went Daniel Gallis there, completely catching Mickey Friesen, and then nowhere to go for Steve Morris, who ended up caught there. 3 cars barrel rolling, and 3 cars that ended up upside down on the opening lap.
Yeah, Daniel Gallus had to try and avoid the tank slapper that Hannah Fechner had at that point, and had ended up just going exit stage right straight into the wall. Vicky Friesen, unfortunately, in the wonderful Nissan R390 tribute livery, ended up getting caught in that as well as a direct consequence. And it just goes to show that minimal tolerance for mistakes here at Silverstone.
Currently focusing on Antti Lepisto here in 4th position from Club Finland, and this over the years has been the series that Finnish drivers have absolutely loved. You've got Topi Koitaniemi and Antti Lepisto in this field. Over this year we've seen the likes of Mikko Leino, who's been in here, Kimmo Villiakainen, who has been up there, Jukka Tolonen has been in here over the years. This has been the car that the Finnish drivers went to for the World Cup of iRacing back in the day and said, this is the car we're going to master and nobody can beat us.
Yeah, it's great to see the Finnish contingent loving this kind of machinery. It's raw, it's brutal, it tests you on both physical and mental endurance, and especially with this short blast of 25 laps around this fast circuit here at Silverstone. You know, when we're running in the 1:30s, it's just great to see how committed they all are.
And they're only going to go faster and faster as this race goes on. Tyre wear is not so much of an issue. As you see there, a slight wiggle for Marco Sanfilippo, just catching the inside a little bit too finely there at Stowe Corner, which leads him to just about gather everything up with Koitaniemi there in front. But the key here is going to be about, well, what are you dealing with here? What is going to make this car quicker? And it's the fact that the fuel burns off a lot quicker than the tyre wear. So these cars are going to go quicker and quicker as this race goes on.
Yeah, I think it's just a case now that Koitaniemi and Sanfilippo, they're both going to have to resign themselves to the fact that, okay, the win's possibly out of question with Gunnar Fritzsche having a lead of 3.5 seconds as we're not even at half distance. But Lepisto looking up the inside of Sanfilippo coming out of left field into Woodcote. The Finn has got the run on the Sicilian.
Well, you can only get the understanding that Antti Lepisto would be trying to help Topi Koitaniemi, a fellow compatriot, out to try and just navigate that gap down as Jacob Reed sits once more on the back of Dylan Freckleton after a slowdown penalty through Woodcote Corner, which cost him the time that he was hoping for. Now, that's actually worth talking about here at Woodcote, because on the brand new, or on the newer set of Silverstone, you can go right over the inside. You're not allowed to do that on the legacy version, and it does catch drivers out when they practice. Here comes Reed.
Yeah, down the hanger straight on the run down towards Stowe. Jacob Reed gets back through for 5th position. Nice and easy as you do going through Stowe Corner. And Freckleton latches onto the rear wing and the rear diffuser of Jacob Reed as they go through into Vale and Club.
Yeah, that's a lovely, lovely move by Jacob Reed, who moves himself into the top 5. Of course, over the course of this week, he managed to pick up the iRacing Grand Prix Tour victory at Portimao after having to chase down 15 seconds in 30 minutes to try and get himself back through. That was a win for him over the likes of the German Florian Kammer. But just in front of that, he will see his next target at around the halfway stage of this race, which is Antti Lepisto and Marco Sanfilippo. And Marco's big worry right now is the word 1 second. That will be his next cause of concern out there. As we take a look here at Hannah Fechner once more. This was coming out of the final corner about 2 laps ago, just putting the power on slightly too early there and just about escaping without having to take a trip down the pits.
Or even ending up in the barriers there, Jake. That was very, very lucky for Hannah Fechner on that particular occasion, but well held and well saved.
Yeah, Josh Brain is there with Nathan Finnegan just in front. They're in 13th position with the mock-up IndyCar livery out there at the moment. Finnegan just in front. Then you've got Andrew Petty in front of that, and this is a train which is led by Danilo Sanfilippo. This group 16 seconds currently off your race lead.
Yeah, still great to see with the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series that there are battles up and down the order. Having the opportunity to commentate on this at round 9 when we had the tight and twisty nature. But Patrick Samaran looking for an opportunity to get through for 16th at the moment going to Stowe. Has to wait for the opportunity, is going to line it up coming out of Stowe Corner and in the run into Vale and Club. Might have an opportunity.
Yeah, it's trying to get past everybody's favourite, Barry West, and Baz here is going to have to try and hold on, and he's been a little bit hot and cold this season, has been Barry West. Sometimes he's got it absolutely dialed up in for a top 10 here today. The field's just a little bit strong for him, and you can see what he's dealing with there. Perfect illustration of how he's driving around. Look at that for a rig.
Yeah, I had a wonderful chat with Barry. I mean, of course, his teammate Miguel Morlon, who had that big incident going through the hillside section at Cadwell Park back at round 9, unfortunately being eliminated through a side-by-side that really wasn't on, to be completely honest with you, but full immersion. And great to see people like Barry continuing to take part in this series and have a lot of fun. But yeah, it's one of those rigs where you just think, how on earth do you enjoy doing that? And he's fully immersed in the situation here at Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series.
He is. He's got that wonderful sense of what he's got to do. You can see there the single screen that's needed, because he'll be seeing all of what the car does in virtual reality, using the force feedback around him to try and get an understanding of what the car's doing underneath him. And Barry West has done quite well over the course of that half a lap. We've been on board with him because he's just pulled that gap out slightly to Patrick Samaran, and there is not much that the number 23 Frenchman can do to get close enough. They do also have Hamilton Barrera there behind in the number 12 car, who's only been able to gain 4 places. This has been stark in terms of a race. We go back to Marco Sanfilippo because of the fact that outside of maybe Jack Kent and the early lap 1 incident, we haven't seen any retirements. This has been a very well-driven race by everyone.
I think it was, like we said at the top of the show here, Jake, that it's about you know, just being millimetre perfect. And here at this particular configuration, as Jacob Reed puts in the new fast lap of the race, 1:26.791. He's got the gap down to around about 1.8 seconds between himself and Ante Lepisto, who rounds out the top 4. So Jacob Reed starting to find a little bit of pace, but as we're past half distance here, it's going to be a tall order for him to try and claw that back, but that depends on what happens between Lepisto and Sanfilippo in the battle for P3.
Well, the key is he was 4/10 quicker than Topi Cortiniemi and Marco Sanfilippo. So on the group, he's made a sizable dent into that margin. But the key is going to be for him, yes, he can catch this group, but we've seen that Ante Lepisto has done nothing but stare at the back of Marco Sanfilippo. Add a 4th car to the mix. It's going to be very difficult to find that pass, but Jacob Reed has proven, a former pro stripe when it has come to the World Championship in the same lineage of the IndyCar butt kicker series, that he is someone who is worth his weight in gold when he starts driving the way that he does. Marco Sanfilippo sliding through the middle of the corner there at Brooklands and just getting what he wants, and that's trouble for the reigning champion. Jack David Spickett down 5 spots. He's had a spin just coming out of the Vale corner, and he would have effectively found himself in the planning regulations for the pit box.
Oh, that's not exactly what you want to have happen at this particular moment in time, and especially losing that amount of places. I mean, we all know, we're going to have a look at the replay here, just bumps over the curbing into the next right-hander, and this is going to be, oh, you can see the back end snapping. Oh, and he was very, very lucky, but he kept the throttle pinned, spun up the rears, tearing up the grass, and rejoins.
Yeah, he's done very well to keep that out of trouble. He was trying to chase down Hervé Trengaret, the Norwegian driver, who is, quite simply put, as Dylan Freckleton remains close here, Jacob Reed, who's fallen back a little bit then in terms of time. A driver that you look at and say, he is Mr. Classics on iRacing.
Yeah, it's really great to see that a lot of people, you know, having my eyes opened at Cadwell Park, where we had a real good race for round 9, it's just wonderful to see all these different attention to details with the respective liveries that the drivers have on the Lotus 79 cars. You also got the old Chip Ganassi livery here with Hamilton Barrera in the number 12 car, currently running P18 at the moment behind Patrick Samaran. And also we've had a nice little comment from Gerald Humphreys in the chat, Jake. It referenced Barry West's setup. He says, I have a similar VR base shakers immersive setup, and I straight up can't drive very well without it.
Yeah, it's very much about information that the car processes. Jacob Reed around on the front stretch through turn 1 as he now tries to get the car pointed in the right direction. He's got to be very careful on the rejoin as Luca Bracali goes through and Hervé Trengareys goes through. He's pushing too much.
Yeah, it was going on to the limit of adhesion, and then at one of the fastest parts on the circuit, going through into maggots. That's a real shame for Jacob Reed. He'd done all that hard work to get past Dylan Freckleton, had to cop a slowdown penalty, got back through on the number 6 as we take a look at the replay.
Yeah, this is just what happens. It's all on his own. So he attacks hard going into the opening corner. And we've been talking about it. You can't go too far off wide because he runs into the AstroTurf there on the outside. And you've just got no grip compared to asphalt.
No, and he was very, very lucky. He spun up the rear tyres. It seems like not holding on to the brakes, but spinning the rear around just to get it pointed in the right direction. And that is a real shame for Jacob Reed. After all that hard work, it's been thrown like water under the bridge there.
Well, here comes Jack-David Spickett straight down the inside of Jean-Francois Boscus, the French-Canadian, as Freacher regains his fastest lap of the race. Not much that Jean-Francois wanted to do. He knows Jack-David Spickett is quicker, and Boscus, who's got himself inside the top 10 in the championship, has done so on his consistency value, and that's why.
Yeah, that was a nice move from Jack-David Spickett there. So now he's already started pulling away from Jean-Francois Boscus just behind, and that gap is now the best part of a second at this moment, but we've got 9 to go here out of 25. Well, you look at the lead that Gernot Fritzsche has at the moment. At its highest, it was 6.2. It's around about 6 seconds between him and Topi Cortiniemi, with Marco Sanfilippo and Antilepisto. Patrick Samarand off the circuit.
That's a shame for the Frenchman, heading in towards Maggots Corner, side by side with Barry West, and the two basically fought for the same apex, it looks like. West, I think, will be looking at his rear tyre thinking, is there any damage? Barry just about avoided both cars there of Hamilton Barrera and Hannah Fechner, and he's now just about letting that place back through as he couldn't get back on quicker than Samaran, and as such he'll now have to battle with Janne Lehmann, and there will be questions for car 19. It looks like he doesn't have the black and orange mechanical, which means the car's okay.
Yeah, and another new fastest lap set by the race leader Gernot Fritzsche, 1:26.260. But yeah, I think Barry is now going to start gathering himself back up. But there we go. For the first time for a long time in this race, there's our race leader.
Yeah, this is the Gernot Fritzsche that was all-conquering and all-dominant once upon a time. A Gernot Fritzsche who took title after title, race after race. He's got 3 times as many victories in this series compared to anybody else currently in the world. He is simply a one-of-one style driver at his peak. He had nearly 10,000 iRating at a point where only 2 drivers had that. He's down to 6,800, but with pace like this, dare I say it, is Gernot Fritzsche back?
He's back, and he's definitely back with a bang here, Jake. I mean, he's just comfortably been getting on with the business at hand, and he's been relatively untroubled. He got the car on pole position as, Hamilton Barrera has found the wall, it looks like.
Oh, and he's found it at a very awkward place, because that is at Beckett's corner that he's found it there, and that is a sizable shunt into the barrier that's demolished the rear right tyre. So Hamilton Barrera's race over and done with then, and we'll take a look, because what has been a common trend is you do it on your own. He's gone over the curb, and you see how the car lifted up there on the rear. That would have taken a massive influx with the ground effect there underneath the car. Is what I like to call compression damping, which causes the problem.
Yeah, I mean, just taking too much curb, especially in these ground effect style cars, can really cause a big headache, because, as you said, the car lifted up off the ground from Hamilton Barrera and just put the Chip Ganassi tribute band into the walls. It's just such a shame. And Hannah Fechner was very close behind, let's not forget, and managed to keep it out of harm's way in the process.
In terms of tribute bands, he might have just found the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club after that moment, so he'll be very upset about that. Cortiniemi sat there in second position, knows that the race lead is out of reach. His main challenge is, simply put, Can I stave off the championship leader, Marco Sanfilippo? He's done an excellent job so far at keeping him at an arm's reach at the moment, but for Marco Sanfilippo, he's just thinking about, well, how aggressive can I be out here on this circuit, under the bridge, and heading over towards Priory Corner once again.
Yeah, I think it's just about just getting himself across the line, because he knows that there's 2 more rounds to go here in the championship, and as you rightly said, he's played all his jokers, well, he's played all his drop scores effectively. But what have you spotted?
I've spotted Jack David Spickett out of the race in the same place, in exactly the same manner as one Mr. Hamilton Barrera. So Jack David Spickett out then with just a handful of laps to go.
Yeah, 6 out of 25 remaining. But yeah, I think Sanfilippo's just going to be very, very careful. Just follow in the wheel tracks of Cortiniemi. He knows that it's going to go down to the wire, because we've still got 2 more races to go in the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series. He's just got to maximise every single opportunity, with still Antti Lepisto not too far behind. So he's having to decide, do I go full push against Cortiniemi, my chief rival, or do I just hang fire a little bit and keep Lepisto at bay? And what he's doing at the moment, he's keeping it very nice and clean here on the circuit to not affect any kind of drive-through penalty or a potential disqualification.
Well, he's caught in Schrodinger's overtake here. He's got to both attack and defend at the same time, which is a nigh on impossibility at the best of times to make it work. So he's got to decide whether he wants to go for second, wants to defend that third, or whether he's quite happy just sitting and doing what he's doing at the moment. It is the third option, which he is doing quite well as he runs through Brooklands Corner, looking to attack here at Luffield. A little slow to the turn-in goes Cortiniemi, which will allow then for a chance to attack off the exit of the corner. But you're really seeing the struggle then as another purple lap puts in on the board for Gernot Fritzsche, a 26.1 this time that goes through. This might be the closest in a little while that we've seen one Mr. Marco Sanfilippo get. He's there at about 0.3 of a second. He might have a half a chance if he's able to just run through this section. It's Chapel Corner though that becomes the most difficult, because it is a killer as you go through for that dirty air to strike.
Yeah, because you can lose a lot of momentum, and now he's trying to weave out of the way of Antti Lepisto. They're all 3 getting it, well, Sanfilippo and Lepisto both getting a bit of a tow. Lepisto getting a double tow from Cortiniemi as they go through into Stowe Corner once again. And you cannot separate these 3 drivers at the moment. They're attached on the ground effects at the moment, so to speak, which has been an enthralling and exciting battle to watch, because none of them have played all their cards on the blackjack table quite yet.
Well, here's the interesting thing, and it's straight line speed as they went through. Cortiniemi, 271 kilometres an hour at the point of braking. Marco Sanfilippo was up at 275. Antti Lepisto, with double draft, mind you there, Alex, was back at 269. So he's the slowest in a straight right now. Antti's the quickest in the corners.
Yeah, but now Lepisto getting a bit closer again, having a little bit of a nibble at the right rear of Marco Sanfilippo as they go through coming out of Woodcote. Again, it seems like Lepisto trying to attack Sanfilippo, who in turn is trying to put the frighteners on Cortiniemi. They go through Copse Corner once again. 4 to go. It's going to be down to the wire between these 3 for second position.
As that's happened, there was a pass at Copse Corner a lap ago from Jacob Reed. He's now through into 6th position once again, making the pass on Luca Bracali for that place. Hard to the inside goes Topi Cortiniemi. He is so quick to try and break that draft away and not waste any momentum on this straight. Marco Sanfilippo again using what he can to really chase through and getting right up in his grill in the middle of the corner is Antti Lepisto, but Marco Sanfilippo is neither shaken nor stirred. He will just sit and watch again. Now watch the run out of the Vale.
Yeah, I mean, Lepisto seems to be a little bit braver on the brakes. He's using Sanfilippo as a bit of a marker, saying like, okay, well, if he's braking at 75 metres, I'll brake at 65. And he gets that little bit close. It seems like Lepisto's car is a bit more settled under braking, especially having a double tow behind Cortiniemi and Sanfilippo. But Gernot Fritzsche leading by the best part of nearly 8 seconds as it's 4 to go.
I think he's just put himself in a brand new bracket. That's a 25.9. That, in comparison to a 26.4 from Topi Courtiniemi, might as well be a different postcode, might as well be a different county.
Yeah, I think he's probably ended up in Buckinghamshire at this point, or maybe even a little bit further north. You never know, but it's been great to see that Fitch has just gone on with the job at hand and goes, right, okay, I know that Courtiniemi and Marco Sanfilippo, they're battling over the title. Let's see if I can get a win on merit, and he's definitely proved that without a shadow of a doubt.
Well, he has been simply wonderful, the way he's been going about his racing at the front. Sanfilippo, again, the status quo maintained as Antti Lepisto continues to shadow here behind Sanfilippo, behind the Pike from Beach racing car of Topi Courtiniemi there in second position. The gap over Dylan Freckleton enough that they can allow themselves to battle. It's 5 seconds with 3 laps to go. They don't have to worry about dropping that time at the moment. Under the bridge, the entrance to the circuit once again, and now looking once more. Look at how aggressive the lines are being taken. Marco runs a little bit wide, and there's a thought of the inside by Antti Lepisto there after he took a very wide entry into Priory. This is getting very, very dicey, and I think Marco Sanfilippo might be able to be accused right now of following Topi's wheel tracks and his braking zones.
Yeah, I mean, Lepisto's been a bit more, let's say, how can I say, flamboyant is the term I'm looking for, Jake, going through into Priory. He's done that for the last 4 to 5 laps to try and close that gap in on the run through into Brooklands, then into Luffield and Woodcote, to try and see if he can put a move on Sanfilippo. But with 2 to go, well, time and corners are fast running out.
They are, and now you're starting to wonder who's got anything left underneath them to throw one last haymaker here in this one. Charging on through, the higher downforce then of Antti Lepisto is certainly showing itself, but he is struggling to make a pass. I have no doubt that Lepisto's probably a quicker driver at this point, lap for lap, pound for pound, than Marco Sanfilippo. It's the fact that he doesn't have essentially that extra nudge that's going to cost him.
Yeah, it is going to come down to who's been taking their bravery pills ahead of today's race. And Antti Lepisto again, just you see the switch that he does through into Priory, then into Brooklands, now into the run into Luffield for what will be effectively the I think the penultimate time, because we're going to be going onto the white flag lap very shortly.
I think we already are. Jerno Freacher, 25.916. He has been simply all-conquering here at the front of this field. Nobody has been able to hold a candle in the wind by comparison to the Austrian, who has been rolling back the years as he now takes this race lead. Topi Courtiniemi back there in second position will have every matter of defending to do, because Marco Sanfilippo now needs to drive out of this corner and now needs to attack with everything that he's got. That foot, if it's not fully to the floor, he's got to put it through the chassis if he wants any more power out of his Ford DFV Cosworth engine. On the brakes through Stowe Corner, not close enough, and Antti getting close once again. Right now is hoping that he can make Marco tap out and yell uncle, but he can't at this point. Through the Vale and Club Corner, and the drive off the exit again looks fantastic for Antti Lepisto. He might have a shot of a podium here, which would be a big momentum shaker in the championship, but not close enough as he runs through, drifting his way through now at Brooklands Corner and in towards Luffield. He has left them in the dark, and nobody will be able to stop him. Welcome back to the big time. Jerno Freacher comes to the line and will take victory at Silverstone Legacy. His legacy is never in doubt. Second, third and fourth remain unchanged.
Courtiniemi ahead of Sanfilippo, with Lepisto rounding out the top 4. God, it was getting so close. Then we've got Dylan Freckleton rounding out the top 5. Jacob Reed, well, despite the few moments, but look at this battle here. We've got the other Sanfilippo, Andrew Petty. It's going to be a run to the line. Slow down for Sanfilippo.
No, he's out of fuel. He's out of fuel coming to the line. Danilo Sanfilippo runs out of fuel on the exit, and there's nothing he can do. All places go. Petty through, Finnegan through, Josh Brain through.
Wow. All I can say is I think that Marco Sanfilippo was definitely getting worried. I mean, he was very, very wide. I think on the early part of the circuit, on the final lap, ahead of Antti Lepisto, and he nearly cost himself third place, but was lucky to hold on.
And hold on, he did, but nobody could touch Jarno Fritsche today. A winning margin of 10 seconds over Topi Courtaniemi is one which you can say, oh my word, the Jarno of old is back, because Topi is one of the best in the world when it comes to this car. Marco Sanfilippo will take a chip here today, but no more than that in third position, as he drops only a couple of points from his 82-point championship lead, with Antti Lepisto finishing off in fourth. Dylan Freckleton would find himself to fifth, and a very adventurous +1 position gain for Jacob Reed. 2 slowdown penalties and a spin puts him 20 seconds off the victor's time. Luca Bracali would end up in seventh, holding off Hervé Trengarade, and everybody advance. Andrew Petty and Nathan Finnegan are 9th and 10th. And there we see over the page Josh Brain finding himself in 11th due to the lack of fuel from Danilo Sanfilippo. Jason Clapper would end up 13th, matching his number after starting at the back. The biggest mover in the field, a gain of 10 spaces ahead of Jean-Francois Boscus. And Hannah Fechner, who had a hand in the early dramas here today. She had a lot to deal with a very loose piece of machinery. Patrick Samaran had his own adventures as he finished 16th ahead of Yanni Lehman. And the driver he had those adventures with, Barry West, who finishes in 18th, and the last driver who was able to finish the race. The retirees, we got 6 of them here today. Jack David Spickett, the reigning champion, the big one to really fall here today, with Hamilton Barrera in trouble. We saw at Copse what happened to Jack Kent, and then the 3 on the opening lap. Steve Morris, Mickey Friesen, and Daniel Gallis, all having their troubles heading over towards the bridge corner here today. But that just gives you a very big understanding, Alex, of what makes great racing happen around this circuit. We saw a lot. We saw here, we saw there, we saw everywhere, but we saw amazing racing, and that is what we love about this series.
These cars just howl like banshees in a wolf pack, and to be completely honest with you, it's wonderful to see them in action once again. I mean, seeing them at Cadwell Park, and then you see them here at Silverstone, 2 completely different situations, but roll on the last 2 championship rounds here of the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series, because it is going to be wonderful. You will not want to miss it.
And Alex, talk about this for a huge challenge, a massive difference maker from Silverstone, because it gets even tighter, it gets even technical, and it gets even higher in terms of the top speed. They are cracking onto the mountain. Mount Panorama is their next round.
That is an even bigger challenge than Silverstone. 6.2 kilometers. It's going to be absolutely wonderful to go to New South Wales, but I think we've got someone waiting for an interview, my good man.
We absolutely do, and it is, of course, your race winner, Jarno Fritsche, who is here with us here today. Jarno, that is a performance from you that we have not seen in a very, very long time. We have been waiting and waiting and waiting, clamouring to see that dominance here around this Lotus 79 series. And my word, did you deliver here today at Silverstone?
Hi, Jake. Yeah. Thanks for waiting, because I've been waiting myself. Yeah, I don't know why I'm so quick around here on this track. I really like that track. I think it suits perfectly to the physics of the car, and yeah, I seem to have really good pace as well. So yeah, I like the track. The track likes me.
Well, it seems like a match made in heaven, and it very much was so for the way that you drove, because you look at the field behind you, Topi Courtaniemi, Marco Sanfilippo, Antti Lepisto, Jacob Reed, you can throw in that mix as well. Some drivers who you could say are the quickest of the quick when it comes to this Lotus 79, and you left them in the dust here today. Just what is it about this circuit that you feel like gave you the leg up compared to some of the other drivers here today? What is it about this track that you feel gives you that extra 2 to 3 tenths of a second a lap?
It's really hard to say. What I'm sure about is that it's not practice time, because I didn't practice that much. But I used to be similarly quick last time we've been here as well. I think it's just the way how this track favors the feeling of the car. I have a setup that allows me to push. I felt safe pushing all race long. I think I did close to perfect qualifying lap, and also in the race I didn't have a single slide. So I can't do any better than this. So really happy with my performance today. I wish I could do it more often.
Well, the question's going to be for you, Journo. Can you do it 7 days from today at Mount Panorama Bathurst?
Something completely different. Really different track, a bit scary in the mountains. Hard to find a good compromise between top speed and downforce levels there. It's really challenging. I like driving there, but it's quite hard and a totally different game than today.
Well, the game might be very different when it comes to 7 days' time, but today it was his game, and sitting in the penthouse, he was very much the boss. Journo Fritzsche joining us there, ladies and gentlemen, a victor once again in the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series. But that is just about going to bring the curtain down here on our proceedings here today from this wonderful show here, brought to you, of course, with the Global SimRacing Channel. Want to give a massive thanks to everyone who has got this one done for us, which includes, of course, Alex, Daniel and Dougie. You can catch all of the amazing content and equipment that has been used, all of the production value that has been done behind the scenes to get this to you, including the music that you've heard over the course of today's show by June Lalonde. You can catch her music on Bandcamp if you haven't had the chance to already. When we are with you, it will be in 1 week's time with the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series. That, of course, is going to be coming to you from the Mount Panorama circuit. You can catch all of our other IPs and shows along your screen. Mark them down in your calendar if you haven't had the chance to. Catch us on our socials. Go to our website and order a bit of merch as well. But it has been far too long. It has been the iRacing sale of the year. You want to renew every single time you jump in on iRacing through this period. If you're brand new, you can get 50% off all new memberships. For early renewals and reactivations, you can get 25% off of a 1 or 2 year deal through to December 2nd. It is iRacing.com/Black Friday that you want to go for that. The king has returned. Journo Fritzsche's pace is not a myth. It is not something that is lost to the sands of time. It is very much real. We saw it here today that some of the best drivers that the world of the Lotus 79s could put together could not find a way to deal with him. If that form persists for a whole season, then everybody hold on to your hats, because we could be seeing some title challenges. But in terms of the title challenge, it's a chip on Marco Sanfilippo, but by any stretch of the imagination, Topi Courtiniemi has landed nothing decisive here today with the damage that he was able to do. We'll see whether differences will be found in 7 days' time when we tackle the mountain.